page one, the best boiler supplies. That's all for the new boilers over here. Anytime you see the code 35, you'll see that's coming from our gifts that we received from many.
At the top of page 3, Leach and Nigley.
That's for a kitchen faucet and a motor in the kitchen. For the it's for the steam table.
The high school?
No, the grade school.
Okay.
Both of them?
Yes. Anything else in page 2 or 3? Northwest evaluation, that's for our map testing. Paper 101 on page 4, we usually get that a little bit later in the summer, but we needed some paper. Some family got ordered in our beginning of the school paper that we usually get for both buildings. That'll finish out the year and then take us into the beginning of the next school term. Page 5, AR renewal, that's for both buildings, or AR, that's yearly.
Sports connection, middle of page 5.
Stopwatches for track.
Or junior high, or just
High school.
on the back of page 6, the wrestling fees.
That's the wrestling coach. We have participated. We help pay for the coach, and then also regional fees and things like that.
Do we do the same then with our co-op for?
Since we're doing
baseball?
it, we're going to wash it out because we're doing. They have the baseball and we have the softball, so that's going to be a wash. So you won't see it go on that. Does that make sense? And explain that. Okay. And on that page you had in your pocket, or a packet, excuse me. The one on your desk, you can take a look at that. Bottom page 1, Ellsworth Service Center. That was the on the back of the page. That was for the towing. We had to get Betty Larson out when she was stuck that day. And you'll see the bill from Ray Roofing. Again, roof is complete. It's finished.
So that's the final payment then.
That's it, yes.
Power school, that's just the maintenance and.
That's our
Or is that
annual
our
fee.
yearly?
Yeah. Anybody else on the table, Journal?
On the visa, is that a computer drive then?
Yes, those computers, Mr. Neal. Yes. Computers supply. And again, that we use the ed tax grant for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else on the table, Journal? Page four, expense budget report. Expenditures, $1,752,596. Last year was $1,689,235. Percent remaining was 26.58. Last year was 25.34. That's all I have.
I'll make a motion, we pay the bills. The financials, accept the bills and financial statements as presented. Yes, second.
Been moved and seconded that we accept the bills and financial statements as presented. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? I think we have several guests back there. Ms. Scott, Mrs. Kelly Keller, Mrs. Bethlehem, Mr. Ray Keller, and Mr. Hill. Thanks everyone for being here. Appreciate it. And okay, so Ms. Scott, you're doing the grade school, correct?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do the first one.
Okay. All right, for the grade school report, Mrs. Batchman sent that in kindergarten we're looking forward to the warmer spring weather as well as the much needed Easter break. In reading, we continue to work on becoming fluent readers with CVC work, nonsense word work, sight word work, and phonemic awareness work. The students continue to make great strides in the classroom on our Lexia reading and in our small daily 5 groups. Some of the things we will hit the last 6 weeks are blends, long vowels, and family words. In math, we continue to push hard on the Common Core standards. We are getting more fluent with our number bonds, 3D objects, comparing numbers, greater than, less than, equal to, and beginning to learn about subtraction and how to move forwards and backwards on the number line. The students have been working hard in their journals, and many are writing sentences with little help using their invented spelling. We are looking forward to our field trip to the Rolling Hills Zoo on May 10th. Mrs. Keller with the library. For our AR rewards party, we have scheduled Thursday, May 16th as the day the students in grades 1 through 3 will visit the Lakewood Discovery Center in Salina, and students in grades 4 through 6 will go to the YMCA to swim. Both groups will meet up at the park for lunch and playtime before heading back to Lucas before school gets out. Eligible students must have met their AR goal for the year and have achieved an average of 80% accuracy on their reading test. Mrs. Laverty, first grade. The first graders just wrapped up a unit on plants and planted a couple types of veggie seeds on Friday. The students will take care of them at school until they start to sprout and will then be able to take it home to plant it. This week we'll be learning about the life cycle of the butterfly, and we'll be creating life cycles using different types of pasta. Our theme of our reading stories has been on changes, so this has tied in nicely with the changes we will start seeing in the spring weather. I think everyone is looking forward to Easter and the much needed break after being in school 70 some days since January 3rd, and then she put a smiley face. The end of the year will go quickly. K through second grades will be traveling to Rolling Hills Zoo on May 10th. Mrs. Wehrman's second grade. In April, the second grade class will begin to prepare for third grade. I'll introduce them to basic multiplication and math, which includes multiplying by 0, 1, 2, and 10. In reading, we will work on quotation marks, descriptive poems, and prepositional phrases. They will learn basic cursive handwriting and write an acrostic poem for the word Easter. Myself, third grade. The third graders are currently taking state reading assessments and will take state math assessments next week. We're hoping to complete spring maths testing yet this month as well. We will take our class field trip to Millfest in Lindsborg on Friday, May 3rd. Mrs. Ladd, 4th and 5th grade, have a beach theme going this week. We wanted to relax before state testing at the end of the week. They're doing centers in a room transformation that Mrs. Berger and I created. The centers focus on skills that come up on the state testing. We're hoping a little review mixed with fun is exactly what they need to tackle the test. It has been a lot of fun working on this with Mrs. Berger. Also, 5th grade has started their World War II study with the novel Number the Stars. They will be doing presentations on World War II and a book review at the end of the month. We have had many great conversations about this topic. Mrs. Veneta, 4th and 5th graders have completed their math state testing. 6th graders will be tested soon. We are next going to get our school-wide spring math testing completed by early May. And Mrs. Feldkamp with music. Students are beginning to work on songs for our spring program on Tuesday, May 14th. The theme is Music Through the Decades, and several popular hits will be featured. 6th grade spotlight and kindergarten graduation will also be that night beginning at 6:30 p.m. What's the grade school report?
Busy time of the year.
Yes.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Scott? Good. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for your report. And Kelly, doing
Site council.
Yeah, we really didn't have very many things on our agenda tonight, so Mr. Starkey talked about the case of, that was really pretty much all we talked about, so, yeah.
He said,
That's about,
well, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
That's all I had on that.
Okay. That's pretty simple. Mr. Keller wants money.
How did you know?
Yeah.
Well, you know, if you look at the first couple, those don't cost you much. Okay? Some things that the teachers have discussed and wanted the board to look at for the 2019-2020 year would be consider a full day of no school for both staff and students following the spring parent-teacher conference. Give everybody a 3-day week off weekend. Kind of take a little break, especially like this year was long or Easter was late. It kind of gives everybody. Sometimes classes you just need a little break. Sometimes that would help. Break that little extra. Second item would be maybe consider having a payroll on a certain date. Right now would be our earliest we would get paid would be 8th or 9th whenever it goes in, and then the latest would be if we paid board meeting on the 14th would be paid on the 15th. So there could be a 5-week time just for for personal budgeting if we would maybe look at a specific date that we would pay by. If it comes on a weekend, then it would bump up. It might be. I don't know if it's a problem, but it just was concerned for some.
Hey, Pam, do you do it like after a board meeting now? Is it like the next day or usually?
Always goes in the day after board meeting.
Does that, as far as if we did it on a specific date, does that cause you any big
I could
headaches?
set it up to be any day.
Huh?
I could set it up to be any day.
Okay.
I think the reason they've always had it
the day after is for classified because they've already earned that money, and so they want paid for that month, whereas the certified, they're actually earning it that month, they get paid. So
Gotcha.
I think it probably would be more set up for the classified for that reason, the way it is.
Makes
So, but
sense
if
to
they
me.
want to wait till the 15th, the classified will just have to budget till the 15th, so.
Yeah. Okay.
It would just be, everybody would know,
Yeah.
get paid by that certain date. Sometimes you have to look when this board meets and
So the classified, they're getting paid for the hours they've already put in. The certified's getting paid ahead.
Yes.
Good point.
something to consider.
Okay.
Yep. Third item would be allow everybody to move down the base salary schedule one step. Year of experience averages about $400 a year on that part. Just years experience, I think, we have several steps. And in fact, I don't think we just keep adding steps if we
Yes.
bottom out. So
Mhm.
there isn't a bottom out type of thing. And move over. And then the last item would be insurance is again critical and key that we could continue to pay for that single membership. That's a big one for young and old on that part. So. Last two items were financial, and I'd also like to thank the board for previous years on how you have increased our base salary. We get along, we handshake pretty well, the teachers and the board, and if you do find at the end there's extra funds, it's nice to always see that extra little increase in base. It's been a good year. Appreciate all the board's backing and support through the year, and look forward to 19 and 20 here. So, any other questions?
The Blue Cross Blue Shield, everybody's pretty happy with the
Oh, yes.
plan that you have. Healthcare is always a big issue, no matter what business or whatever you're in, and it's changing all the time. So everybody feels like we got a pretty good policy.
I think so. I haven't had any complaints.
It's been good for me.
Yeah.
As we get older, we use it more.
Yeah.
So it's been good for me.
We looked at different, different plans throughout the year, and they're just hard to beat.
Years past, we were close to changing, and
Yeah.
that would have been a pretty bad deal if we would have went there. So, I think as a whole, we have a good, maybe not the top line, but a pretty good one. I'm pleased with it. Yeah. And they're all cost. They all cost.
Yeah.
Yep, none of it's cheap.
Okay.
So, and I think the consensus of the board would be also too, we appreciate the ease of how negotiations go. This is pretty simple.
It is.
4 items.
Sometimes simple is good, isn't it?
And
I think so.
Yeah. I think the board, when they're speaking out of turn, somebody else speak up, but for me personally, anyway, it's pretty easy.
No, from my standpoint, it's like I said, a lot of schools start in January and don't get done. Some of them are still a year behind, still trying to figure out the year before. So, it's pretty, like I said, appreciate all your work.
And hopefully the governor signing this new
Yeah.
school.
I thought it was timing. The timing was good today.
It might make all of our jobs a little bit easier.
I gave Pam credit. Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Librarian, is that you, Mrs. Labby?
I can start. Yep. Mr. Sykman had asked to kind of bring you up to speed on what's happening with our high school. I'll address the high school library because that's where I work now. You'll know me, I think, sort of. But anyway, I've been working. I began working with the high school library somewhere around 2001, 2002, when I came on board. And at that time, we were our own school, so I was covering both libraries. And we had an automated system at that point. So I can't speak to how many years prior we purchased that. I don't really know, but at least It's the same system that we've had since 2001. So I know it's at least that old and probably a little bit older. The thing we ran into this year in high school is that the system crashed. Like, totally crashed. And it has been an unsupported system for quite a few years now through the company, through the Spectrum Winnebago company, because they've done upgrades and we didn't upgrade. So they have no tech support, they have nothing. We called in Dr. Neal and he looked at every possible angle that he could, technology-wise, to get it up and going again. He made phone calls. He spent a couple of weeks at least working on it. And this has been since, I think it happened right before Christmas break. So we've been limping along with no library system in the high school this whole time, just having him write the stuff down, and you know, we're getting by, but my needs and goals is what I'd like to present, and that is that because of this crash of our current system, we need to have a new library system in place, and I'd like to see it up and running when school starts in the fall. So we, as a combined library group, and I'm going to let Callie address some of this part of it, she has begun to transfer to a new system. I would be interested in keeping us in line with the same new system that she is already beginning to implement. So she has more details on that part. If I could get a new system and we could get it up and running before we would want to do that on my part of it, since our old system has crashed, I can't do the normal thing of importing all of my records into a new system, which is the way that it's intended to go, because there's nothing. So I talked to Mr. Steckler and I said I would seriously want to take this opportunity to read the library and go through and take out everything that we would not want to put into a new system. And it's perfect timing for that. So that would be another goal that I would have, would be to weed out all the old books. We did talk to CKLS, Central Kansas Library System, because currently we're partnering with them. They have a group that works with public schools, and they have offered to come in and can help us with that weeding process. And so we're looking at some dates, and again, I'll let Callie address some of that. Rainey also had offered, she's in the middle of her whole library switchover and everything, which I wouldn't expect her to do anything, but she loves the library, and she loves us, and we love her. And I talked to her the other day at school, and she said, I'll come in and help. And we've worked on some of that before as a team earlier, other years when we tried to weed ourselves. After we would complete a weeding process, then would come the thing of having to enter all those books into the system. And because I don't have any import, everything would have to be done book by book by book. Get them into the system, create labels for ones that don't have labels or ones that don't work. And Callie knows kind of how that's worked because that's what she's doing. Any new books that we have that have not been labeled in our system, because I haven't been able to put anything in the system, again, because it's dead. I have some new books that need to be completely processed with labels and everything. So I'd want to get those done and into the system. And then I felt like personally this would be a really good time, because I'm assuming when we weed, after talking to Rainey, and she has worked with these people before, there's going to be a significant amount that is going to be gone. So it's going to lower the number of books in our library. And for efficiency's sake, after having worked with kids this long in the library, it's my personal desire to see it go to the fiction section being categorized by genre. Because when those kids come in looking for a book, half the time they don't even know what the author's last name of the book that they're looking for is. And that's the way our library's set up now. You find a book by author's last name in alphabetical order. So they walk in and they're like, "Can you help me find a book?" Well, what kind of book are we looking for? And then they'll tell me what they want. And then it's all up here, and I just have to go and say, oh yeah, this kind of book and sports book, well, there's these over here and these over here and there's author over here and over here. Where if I did it by genre, those kids would walk in, they'd be labeled and coded. Here's sports books over here, here's mystery, here's romance. Boom, I think they'd be in and out a lot faster. And I think with downsizing right now, I only have about 4,500 fiction books in the library, and I'm imagining that'll probably get cut in like half. And so, through the weeding process, so I think it would just up the circulation and up the in and out of the library to get them in. My main concern is not the nonfiction and the reference sections at this time, and I know Callie can attest this too, that our stuff is so old. And we have not even been using any library money to purchase much in that because stuff changes so fast and so quickly that we felt like the money that we do spend is best used for AR books and the things that the kids are required to read because they do a lot of their research with all the online things anymore. But that would be something that we might be able to get through that, but if we can't get to that, it's a little bit lower on my priority and goal list. So with all that being said, depending on when CKLS could come in and help us, my original date when I contacted them, they said, we don't think we could get you on the schedule until August 8th or 9th. And I was like, I don't know if I could get anything up and running, at school at that point. But then we recontacted them again, and when Callie talked to them, they're like, oh, we might be able to get something going, May 7th or 8th. And I was like, that would be awesome. So we don't have anything like nailed down at this point, but if they would be able to work with us up front, I'm estimating that, maybe in the summer, if I could have a couple of weeks to work on it, maybe I could get things, kind of in shape and ready to go for start of school. So Callie has her own stuff to share, and she did she knows more of the facts and details, and I'll be willing to field any questions after, she's done with numbers and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. I said I had to write this stuff down because I might forget what I want to mention if I don't have it down. So the new circulation system that I'm working with right now is called Library Thing. The cataloging part is called Library Thing, and then the circulation part is called Tiny Cat. I know that's kind of funny names, but they're attention-grabbing. So I first subscribed to that system with the grant money that I had got from CKLS. And so right now, I first started a subscription in December last year, in 2017. So now I'm on the second year. And the price for the annual subscription is $420 for this library because they go by how many books you have in their library. So if you have between 10 and 20,000, it's $420 a year. And our size is around 15,000, what we actually have right now before weeding. So Beth, thinks hers will probably be more like $300 a year at the very most and by the time they weed, she may even be down to less than that. So when I started the trial subscription, Dr. Neal came in one day and we imported the books that were on the old Spectrum system, and we were successful importing the titles, the author and the publisher, namely, is what we got in there. And then I started looking more, and there's no barcodes there. So, and mainly probably because it's such an old system, it just didn't import in. And also, I would really like to have the prices in there and call numbers for spine labels and so on. So that's why I've been working on that, putting in the barcodes and the prices whether it's paperback or hardback, and I plug along at that a little bit at a time. But it just really takes a lot of time, and let's see. And then the old system there's all these old barcodes that my scanner won't read. So as I go along, I'm also trying to replace those barcodes so that the scanner will read them. Then we also have books from Luray Lucas school and I know you have some of those in there too in high school and those aren't on anything because they were on the circulation system that we had at Luray. So, we thought we were going to get those put in right away, but it just takes too long. So I've been, I go along and I put those in a little bit at a time too. So, that's what is the most time consuming. So, and I was also going to mention, I looked into some other circulation systems, and like one called Mandarin costs, it looked like it'd be $1,100 for the initial setup, and then you have to pay $650 a year. So the library thing really is the more reasonably priced system, and that was the one that CKLS ladies had recommended also. So,
What was the cost on that again?
Oh, yeah, for this library, $420 a year. Yeah.
Was there any initial cost?
No,
Set up?
no, there wasn't any initial cost.
Hardware?
No,
No,
because it's
just
just all online, and you enter them in, and it's like that would be a nice thing too. We can share, we can get on each other's system anytime to see what we have at the different libraries, and the other nice thing about it is there are other libraries that can view what you have, and then like they'll add their reviews of books and what they thought about them, and when we're adding books in, you can put in a name of a book title, and it'll bring it up, and it'll have most of your information there. You just have to add it, but you just have to put your barcodes and all of that in. That's distinctive for your own library. So it's really, what I've used on it so far is using the circulation system, experimenting with it. I mean, it's very user-friendly, and it gives the kids information about the book and what they're checking out, too. So I've liked it so far. So I guess one of what my need, besides being able to continue the subscription to Library Thing, I'd also like to have at least probably about 4 weeks is what I estimate of paid summertime hours. Beth would also like she said, maybe probably 2 weeks of paid hours where we could work uninterrupted and really get with it and get it done. The CKLS ladies have offered to weed old, especially in my library, the old nonfiction books that aren't on AR are just, So those are the ones I see because I weeded out fiction books last summer, but the old nonfictions are really what they need a hit on in this library. Let's see, then I'd have to go through and delete those out of the system because they were imported in when Dr. Neal imported all those in, but that probably wouldn't take too long. And then I guess the other thing that, and then they also each student would get their own barcode, which we have now too, but that'll take a little bit of time too to get all of them put into the system. Once the new school year starts, then what I'd really like to be able to do is use the scanner directly to check out books, which is what most libraries do, without using checkout cards, because then you can just bypass using checkout cards. But because right now, I run through probably 80 to 90 books a day that are checked out, and then about that many in the book drop, and you have to pull the cards out to check the books back in, and it just takes a lot of time. So if we could just scan the book immediately and go into the system, then you don't have to mess with the barcode or the checkout cards. So but the thing about that is it requires somebody to be there. I would need to be in there to scan the book, or if I wasn't there, the teacher would need to need to come in. Somebody needs to be in there, an adult, because we just can't have the students do that themselves.
So do they provide the scanner, or does it come with?
Well, the scanner I have now works for it. I forgot to mention.
But was that part of the grant?
No, I already had the scanner. It works for the old system and the new system. So.
Oh, okay.
See, what I do now is I scan the checkout card, the label on the checkout card, rather than a kid doing it.
And the students' IDs, once you have them over here in the system, will they transfer to the high school? Just carry forward with them?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure about that. But probably. And I don't really see that as being it wouldn't be that difficult to change it if we needed to. So, let's see, I was going to say something else. We talked about Beth, about them possibly using the scanner at the high school, but we're just not sure about that.
Yeah, again, even though they're high school, junior high and high school students, I don't know if I trust them to let them have free reign to the computer, to do that own stuff, because we did have issues in the past with kids writing, they want a book, so they write down somebody else's name, or they scan it under somebody else's name, and then the book disappears and the other kid gets blamed for it. They're just not above that yet.
Yeah. But you can have high school kids write down pretty accurately. They can write down the barcode number of the book, whereas grade school kids probably wouldn't be accurate most of the time. So that's what you do. Beth doesn't use checkout cards at the high school.
But I have been having them write it down on paper whenever I'm not in there, and I teach quite a few hours, so there's a lot of uncovered time in the library where if they're sent in or come in to get a book, they've got to write it down, which works, and I would just enter them into the system. But right now, the big problem with no system, that's what I'm having them do now. The library's still functioning, but you can't look anything up. You can't print out any overdue notices. You can't, to check them out, to check them back in when they come back in, I have to go through sheets and sheets of handwritten paper. And if you've seen any of their handwriting,
yeah.
It's interesting. I'm getting pretty good at deciphering.
Yeah.
But it is extremely time
So
consuming.
you received a grant to get yours started. Are you looking at a grant to start this, or?
No.
They
You got
aren't
that from
really
that.
off. Well, pardon?
How much did you get from that?
Well, I got $5,000, but I also spent it on
Books.
the Rigby readers, which Mrs. Batchman uses those a lot for. It's a leveled reading system, and then I also bought some nonfiction books and some paperback high-low books for the high school. And so, yeah, it went to several different areas. We really kind of had intended to spend part of that grant money on the high school circulation system. We thought maybe, but when this was taking, I thought, I don't think we can tackle this, because that had to be all spent by last December, and so it's kind of like one thing at a time. Then at that time, so anyway, on the subject of directly scanning the books into the system, what I would like to do is increase my time in the library to at least 3/4 time instead of half time. So if I could be in there a longer part of the day, and then we'd either have to work out or we just wouldn't have the library open during the rest of the afternoon, or or we'd have to work on somebody else being in there the rest of the day. But besides being in there to be able to scan the books, I'd also have a lot more time to do all the other things that are like processing new books and working on the AR tracking all of that and so on. I mean, there's just a lot to be done in the library. So that, I guess, yeah, in summary, my main needs and goals is to keep the subscription to library thing and the 4 weeks of paid summertime hours and possibly increasing the time during the school year.
So, I forgot, what do you do, where do you spend the other half of your day right now?
I don't,
She just had fun.
I'm
Yeah, that's what I
usually
thought.
here.
You just
But
have
you'd
fun.
like to
What I
bump
find
back
is,
up.
I end up staying longer, but I'm only half time.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure on that. Okay.
So if
So-
it would be possible to
So,
increase.
I mean, in terms of dollars and cents, we're looking at $750 a year subscription fee
Between the two schools.
between the two schools, and
Mhm.
4 weeks of your time this summer and 2 weeks of her time this summer, and then possibly, so we're not looking at a huge expense.
No, and that, just the increase, we'll have to look at that.
In her time,
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean, that'll be
Yeah.
kind of in.
I'm just
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
putting
right.
it out there. I would be open to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
But it won't take like you had a grant for 5,000 to get yours started, but you're saying we won't need the 5,000 upfront to get that one started?
Oh, no, and see, that 5,000 wasn't entirely spent on this.
Right.
It was spent on other areas too, so.
It kind of
No, you're
depends.
just looking at 420 and 300.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Possibly 300.
Yeah, maybe lower.
And then our hours.
Yeah,
is
it
on-
kind of depends on the high school library of how far we get through, if we're going to end up putting the whole nonfiction and reference into the system at this time. And since it's a yearly subscription, my thought was if they could at least get the fiction side in and running, it would be at the lowest rate because it would be under the 5,000 books. So it would be a lower, it would
That would
be,
just be $20 a month.
yeah, that would only be $20 a month and there's no upstart.
Okay.
So, and we've had offers from CKLS to come and help with some of that processing, if we can get them here before August, But I mean, I could start weeding in the summer without
And
them.
that's part of their, I mean, they're not gonna charge us to come help us, right?
They
No.
don't. We're partnering with them, and it's a service that they offer. So that's why right away we called them right away before we even talked to you guys, because it's like, can you get us on your schedule to weed? Because they would do that whether we were buying this program or whether we were having issues or not. It's just something that we've talked about before. But this timing is just laying itself out there, like this is the time to get this going. And I really do not want to have to start next year with no system. So that's kind of what I'm asking for me. Do you have any other questions about the high school library, or do you have any issues with me making some?
Well, obviously, we need to do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty obvious, so.
And I also have a Christy Snyder, who is the school consultant for CKLS, she said she was going to send the letter in the mail, but I think she didn't mail it till Friday, so you probably didn't get it yet. Oh,
I
you
did.
did get it?
I didn't read it if I did.
Okay, well, I've
Okay.
got a copy
Okay,
of what
good.
she sent to me, so I'll just give you a copy. Just a letter of support kind of explains what we're up against, and that they would be willing to help with weeding and so on. It's not signed since it was just the one that she sent me.
So do we know when they'll come in? No.
Not for sure.
They said
She proposed a couple of dates, but it's not confirmed.
Yeah,
And she's
I had to fill out those weeding requests, which Jude also signed, and They haven't got back to me since I sent those in.
Her original contact with me was the dates in August for my library. When she talked to Callie, and it references it in this letter, is, oh, we could come do the grade school maybe in May. If we have time, we could do Beth. You know, it's like,
I see.
Yeah.
yikes.
I think they're thinking of, get the grade school done first. I think that was why she said they could come here first to read out those nonfiction. So, anyway, it's taking a long time.
So, you want to act on this some more, or what,
Well, I think we can on the library, or the circulation. We want to get that started, the circulation. We want to make sure we get the same circulation.
Yeah, I would
And then,
like,
the weeks, this week, or the summer weeks.
yeah.
Okay.
and
Then the increase in counties, just like kind of
the
wait,
others, look at that.
see where we're at. Okay.
Yeah, my subscription won't be due again until, I think, isn't it December, Pam, when that came up, renewal? You have a lot of things to remember, but I think that's
it was.
So the subscription is actually to Tiny Cat, or is it to CKLS?
Oh, no, it's the library thing, Tiny Cat. Yeah, that's
That's who we be
who we
paying.
pay, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And they do offer a trial subscription, and when I did it, it was 30 days. That's when I tried it out, and I think that's really when we imported all those books in. And now they said they are offering 90 days free trial. So, Beth could be using it this summer, and then we wouldn't really have to start the paid subscription until, about the time school started, probably.
Well, I don't think anybody has opposed or
No,
first time I
no.
when we asked a question. I think it'd be good for having the same catalog in both places.
Yeah.
It would be
Definitely.
really helpful.
Because we can, we borrow back and forth between the two libraries too. And so it would be easy to go on within the system, do that. Or like you said, moving the kids up, moving them over, to when they come into the other building and their barcodes and stuff.
Well, I will make a motion then that we authorize a subscription to Tiny Cats for approximately $420 for a grade school subscription and approximately $300 for a high school subscription, and to allow CKLS to come in and help Mrs. Callie Keller and Mrs. Beth Ladd in implementing the new system, and to also authorize 2 weeks of summer hours for Mrs. Beth Ladd and approximately 4 weeks for Mrs. Kelly Keller, summer hours. That's all right.
I second that.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we authorize a subscription to Tiny Cats for approximately $420 subscription for the grade school library and $300 for the high school library, and to allow CKLS to come in and assist Mrs. Ladd and Mrs. Keller with implementing the new system, and also to allow Mrs. Callie Keller approximately 4 weeks summer hours, and Mrs. Beth Ladd 2 weeks of summer hours to implement the new library system. Any more discussion? All those in
I
favor?
wait. If they don't, I do.
Okay.
At what cost? What are you paying them per hour? And is
Oh,
Callie
if
gonna be
they're
like,
if they're base rate?
We'll have to look at that, Pam. I don't know what Pam or Beth's getting, so we'll have to look.
and then Callie for 4 weeks, is it gonna be half days or full days? And how you gonna do the pay, I guess, is what I need in my minutes. If you're gonna make a motion to
Yeah,
do
okay,
it.
I got it. So I guess that's the question.
What I'd like to be able to do is flexible hours of, like if I want to come over here for 12 hours and stay,
Okay, so
you know,
maybe-
and then plan around
maybe-
harvest and such and, you know,
So
other
maybe
places.
instead of in terms of week, we should go to in terms of hours.
Yeah,
number of
yeah,
hours
if
possible.
whatever 4 weeks
So-
would,
So,
figure out.
okay, so put that in terms of hours. How many hours do you think?
Is that like
I
an
should have
8-hour
figured
day?
that up, yeah. 8
Well, that
times
if
5
you're
would be
looking at,
40. So it would be 160, about 160 hours.
Yeah.
so then you start,
160
so 160
and 80.
and 80 for, this is Beth Brad. Okay, so I'll amend my agenda, or my motion then to stipulate instead of weeks, 160
And,
hours approximately for Callie and 80 for Beth. And then, I guess, on the rate then,
What are you getting, Beth? An hour? I don't know.
I don't know. It's like 11, 12, somewhere between 11 and 12.
Salary
Determine.
be determined.
Determine.
and the
Yeah.
hourly rate to be determined by Mr. Steckeline.
I will have that for you next month.
Okay.
Okay.
That fair enough?
Is that fair? Okay.
Can we table that part of it until next month?
Uh,
Can we table that part of the motion until next month?
well, I guess we-
Yeah, we can do that.
And just
Okay.
get the system moving?
Okay, well, okay, so we'll
That way
okay,
we're
we'll
on-
table, okay, well,
what'd she
let's
say?
just back up here.
Sorry.
Okay, so I will put in, I will do a full motion,
Why don't you just change your, instead of the 2 weeks and the 4 weeks, to put it
Hourly.
160
Hourly,
hours and forget the rate of pay like that wasn't in there to begin with, because you didn't have it in there to begin with.
Right.
And then add that, we will table the
But
rate of pay
and
until
table
next
the
month,
rate of pay, till next month's
till the
meeting.
May meeting.
Till May meeting.
Okay.
Fair enough? Okay. Heard your second, still good?
does that sound all right?
I second
Okay.
the amended motion.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, very good, thank you. Thank you for coming in, ladies.
All right.
Are you guys too warm?
Yes.
I could turn on the air conditioner.
Yeah, please, thank you.
Uh-huh. This room gets pretty warm.
Okay, so we're on to KSB policies.
Should have it at your packet at your desk.
Yeah,
You don't?
packet, I was on the track. He did, I just didn't bring the packet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Go to the director up here.
Very good. Okay, we're gonna look at the first one. We'll do these individually. Some of them we have, some of a lot of them. First one, ADA school census. You can take a look at that. We already have this, but they're just making it a little bit more specific. The board may direct the superintendent to conduct the census of the following: the number of potential students living in the district under the age of 5, the number of potential students between the ages of 5 and 21. We haven't done one of these in a while. A lot of times our preschools have a pretty good idea of what students are getting. The last one we did was about 10 years ago. we have a guy from K-State kind of get an overview of what our population was, but we haven't done any since we've combined.
Who everybody is in the household and the ages of them?
We do, but a lot of times this is more, this is a little bit different. This is maybe 3 or 4 years down the line, what it might look like. Next one, special meetings. And what they added on there, the special meetings may be called at any time by the president of the board, which will joint action of any 3 board members. And what they've added is that down the line, you'll notice stated the time and place of these special meetings all the same. Be given each board member at least 2 calendar days. They added that 2 calendar days. For special meetings. And we know the next sentence states the same, no business other than the stated in the notice may be transacted at the special meeting, whatever we have on that agenda. Any questions on those 2? Public records. You read that. Pretty much the same what we've had. The next one, VE emergency drills. We do not have this one, and this kind of goes with for drills or safety drills that we have to do. Hopefully they're going to change those the amount we have for next year. But anyway, just says building principals shall be responsible for scheduling and conducting emergency safety drills as required by law. This one we do not have. Yeah, this is just states it, yeah. You should have it.
We're doing it, we're just amending the policy.
Right. Kind of following state guidelines. The next one, JGFG, student accidents and health emergency. Again, this is a student or the staff, or excuse me, if the student is injured and the staff member is involved with it. Some of the things to do's and don'ts. I think bus situation we had last year, one of the things we learned, we didn't call the police at that time, it was highway patrol, and that's kind of stated in that here. So just things to learn. Anyway, kind of goes through the things you should do for student accidents. And the last one, KCB, is custodial, non-custodial parent rights. That parents, just to recognize that parents often share caregiving and custody of their children. That parents, if not otherwise prohibited by court order, should have equal access to the child's school record. Yes.
Each one individually, correct?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept policy ADA concerning the school census.
And moved and seconded that we accept KSB policy ADA school census. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Make a motion to accept the BCAC special meetings policy.
Second.
Then moved and seconded that we accept KSB policy BCAC special meetings. Any more discussion on that one? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I make a motion we accept CN public records.
Second that.
Then moved and seconded that we accept policy CN public records. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Been moved and seconded that we accept policy EDE, emergency drills. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
My turn? Okay.
Round the table. Here we go.
I'd make a motion that we accept JGFG student accidents and health emergencies policy as presented.
I second.
And moved and seconded that we accept policy JGFG, student accidents and health emergencies. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept KCB, custodial and non-custodial parent rights policy.
And moved and seconded that we accept policy KCB, custodial and non-custodial parent rights. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those are done.
Okay.
Item F, Mrs. Candy's position.
Well, Mr. Starkey, I'll have you talk about that. Okay.
Mrs. Kane currently teaches 3 classes in our building. She teaches our junior high sciences, our 7th grade life skills class, and then also has a Power 31 class in her plan. So she currently is 5/7 is what we pay her. We have a desire, and she would like to as well, go full-time, go to a 7/7 contract. It allows us to do a couple of things. It allows us to bring Mrs. Berger into our building full-time. Mrs. Berger would take over the 7th and 8th grade English. She already teaches the 8th grade English, and then the senior English. And then Mrs. Kane would step in and do her 6th grade English here, and then come over to our building in the afternoon, or 10 o'clock, and teach her 2 sciences, life skills. And then we'd be able to use her in the afternoon for some MTSS with some junior high students that we currently have a need for. In 2014, when I first got here, we had 94, 95 kids in the building. And now we have over 120 kids in the building. We haven't had any staff. We could use some help, especially with our young kids in the afternoons.
Okay, so Mrs. Kane will just be doing 1 hour or so?
Yeah, she would come over for English and reading.
2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Both 6th grade.
In 6th grade.
6th grade English and reading, so 2 hours.
Yeah. And Mrs. Kane has a reading specialist background also.
So that would take Mrs. Herring.
That would take one more off Mrs. Herring's plate. Yeah. And she currently has 7 preps in an 8-hour day. And if we're going to meet some of our KISA goals, this would help us tremendously.
So she would no longer have 7th grade?
Correct.
English.
Mrs. Herring would have 9, 10, 11, and then English Comp 1 and 2, personal finance, and speech. Which would be Mrs. Herring's.
So you said Mrs. Berger would be,
She would teach 7, 8 English.
okay.
And she currently teaches our English 4, which is our vocational English for seniors that aren't taking English Comp 1 and 2. And she would still teach her intro to facts, and then have her 2 facts classes in the afternoon. Currently has really good enrollment in facts. That's one of our funded courses. We have 14 and 8 corrective classes.
Makes sense to me, I guess. Excuse me.
So it's the only thing we need is a motion to her.
Full-time, yeah.
I'll make that motion to reopen the full-time position.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we offer Mrs. Chelsea Kane moving her, I guess, from 5/7 to full-time and having her do 2 hours at the grade school. Okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Any more discussion? I happened to see her, she was in the store today, she seemed pretty excited about it. I know she's always wanted to get into grade school building and everything, so I think
She's worked really hard for us this year.
yeah, I think she's pretty excited about it, so. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Okay, social worker.
Michelle Ellens is currently, we use from Boyd 2 days a week, and we opened up the position, and she would like to stay on here full-time. She'd be working both buildings. I think there's a need, of elementary staff. I mean, we talked about it, and it's kind of a social worker / counselor. Anyway, it just seems like we're getting more kids that need that individual attention. And her expertise, I think we've got 4 years now, 5 years, we've had a social worker, or different ones, and she's pretty good. She's the best we've had, and from Tipton, and like I said, she'd like to be in one place. So I think she'd be as we can find.
Can you give me a description of what she would do basically every day? I know she works with character ed and that stuff, but
She would work with a lot of at-risk kids, kids that might have trouble getting along in class, behaving. What else?
If we have students that we've got to report aren't doing well or self-harm, we recommend to the parents that they meet with her. She actually will give evaluations of the student to determine what kind of risk they are and communicate that to the parent, what the next step should be. She meets with probably 8 to 12 of our kids on a weekly basis for individual counseling. I would like to use her more in our character ed as we build that with our KESA.
is Ben still our high school counselor?
He is, but his focus is more on the career and scholarships and those types of things.
I think as a coach, he does a lot of counseling. All coaches kind of do that, but some of the issues that we have, we just need a little bit more expertise. We just run across things that we haven't had since I've been here.
So I was confirming that. So
Yeah.
I want to make sure
Sure.
I have my description correct.
Yeah. I think in the grade school, it's a lot of behavior issues.
Yes, and we have quite a few students who really have had a lot of trauma already in their lives.
Thank you.
And like Mr. Steckline said, she's by far probably the best we've had in some time. She has a rapport with the students. She has a lot of expertise. She brings a lot of experience to the table. And I know the grade school is really hoping that she would be interested in staying, and we really all feel that she's made quite a bit of progress with some of the students that we've had this year.
And she works well with staff. I think that's her thing.
She really does. She, some of them we've had in the past, they're right out that side door as soon as school's out. She's in the hallway. She's not afraid to give up her lunch break to have kids come with her and do a counseling session and eat lunch. And she comes to any meetings that she needs to come to, no problem. And it's just, she's a team player.
Provide strategies for us to use.
Yes.
And staff. She's good in her experience and really good.
Currently she's employed by Boyd.
So, yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna think out of the box here. What happens when we employ her and she misdiagnoses somebody as they're not gonna do that, they're not gonna do that, they're not gonna do that. And then that person goes home and does harm to themselves that night, or even goes to the extreme of kills themselves. What kind of liability is going to be on us as the district having a full-time person? Will that be any different than?
Ultimately, we communicated with the parent.
Okay. So that's out of our, okay.
As one relate to the school district, I went to the Southfield conference on Tuesday, and that's what they now, anytime that they report something to the parent, if they don't go seek counseling, they automatically file a sync report with the child needing care if they don't do it. So, yeah, that comes back to the parent.
And I think you see this with when we talked about the Senate Bill 60. I think you'll see is that one of the things is that they will stress is this: what are we doing to help the kids? And I think you'll see that.
Not to add to that,
No.
but my cousin is the board clerk for Graham County Schools, and she was talking to me, and she said they're in search of a full-time social worker for their grade school as well. And so I think it's just becoming more of a need in younger kids. I mean, I know she would be at the high school too, but I said, well, we are actually too. And she said, yeah, it's just amazing what some of these kids are experiencing, and they're kindergarten first graders. And I know we've had some situations this year we've really needed her.
I mean, do you think the need is for us, for our district, is greater in the grade school than it is the high school? Or I mean, I know obviously we have a need full-time, I believe, but do you think we have a greater need in high school, or excuse me, grade school than in high school, or right now? Or is it, it's really kind of, I guess we're more in big business. Should we spend any kind of money than she did at the high school, or I guess that's up to you guys too.
Yeah, I think that's something we'll.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we need to designate that, but.
Probably a base.
Well, what would be nice though, if she's here all the time, let's say we have an emergency, that's our big thing. We'll be able to get together, you know.
Sounds like you have to wait for it to come from different.
Yeah. Or wait till Monday, Wednesday, or wait till Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
But right now, this is the service we do get through the
Yes,
payment.
so we just get 2 days, you can just switch 2 days. And I try to get her more, there's just
We
no.
won't make any less payment to the direct co-op because we
It'll,
don't.
yeah, we want to pay for that social.
So we will save a little money.
Yeah,
Just
it's not too much, but yeah, we do pay for that. And I talked to the director, I hated to, when she said she was interested, I hated to, hey, you're gonna lose you. That's, she said that, I'm happy for her, is what she told me, so.
Mrs. Ellens just said if we can't tell her husband if she makes any less money than she does, she's going to tell him she makes the same. She said, because he doesn't need to know, I'm just going to tell him I make the same, so don't anybody say anything if she makes less. She was joking around. She just said that she would really enjoy it here.
Well, talking about contract, she's MS plus 30, and that's more than, I think we're what, MS 15? MS 15. So she's up and beyond hours. And what she's making about 53 now. And I think they give her a bonus, not bonus, they give her a stipend for an extra $1,500 for being a counselor. That's just a thing. But she agreed on 51,000. And what she would do then, what we do each year is then whatever percent, if we give up, let's say we give a 2% raise, and we would give 2% on that.
So she'll be on the certified.
Yes. Should be a teacher. No, should be a teacher. Yeah.
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 She'll be
Yeah.
certified, not classified.
Yeah, but she doesn't fit on our.
Right.
They
She's
said-
already passed on.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And I'll make a motion that we offer a contract to Michelle Owens for full-time district social worker, beginning a salary, and this will be beginning 2019-2020 school year, beginning salary of $51,000.
Plus benefits. Plus benefits.
Plus benefits.
I second.
She seconded. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we employ Michelle Evans as a full-time district social worker beginning with the 2019-2020 school district for a salary of $51,000 plus benefits. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Sorry.
I took that as a...
You know, kind of getting back to what Laura's saying, people are probably going to say, well, you know, why we need that. Why can't you take them out of paddle or whatever. But anyway, the kids we have, you know, I've learned a lot this year teaching kindergarten PD. I tell you what, it's just different. It's a different world. Yeah, it's not like, you know, we had a strong, you know, I'm not saying we still don't, family environment, family would take care of a lot of things. It's not that way. You know, we have a lot of kids that they're just good to be in, glad to be in school. They don't have much home life. They got some other people taking care of them, grandparents. Some of them go week to week, living with someone else. So, you know, like I said, it's just different, a little different. So, I don't know how you can explain it, but that's, this is just something I think you really need, you're going to need even more. So, you know, do that. So I know a lot of people say that's a lot of money, but like I said, it's something neat. Okay.
It's hard to put a dollar value on the kids' future.
Yeah.
She's good.
Yeah, she's very good.
Okay, we'll move on to storm shelter.
Well, I'm still battling, we're working on that, kind of narrowed it down, we'd like to get to 36, that's the meat, I don't know if you remember, 36 by 40, that was the middle one. It's for $413,092, that was turnkey, that's everything, lights, they do all the inspections, they do everything. Same still, we got $178,000 from FEMA. Still trying to find some other grants yet. We're waiting for Post Rock and Dane Hansen applied there, so we're still waiting to see. So I'm kind of giving you an update. We're going to see at the end of the year what we have left in LOB, count the outlay, maybe we can do some of that, but we'll see. So I'm still working on that. We do have 2 years to get this built, but I'd like to get it maybe narrowed down as we go through. But anyway, that's kind of where we're at on that. So.
We talked about maybe checking with Russell County.
Yeah.
I did, on that note, I did talk to John Fletcher, the Russell County Administrator. He was going to run it by the commissioners, and this has been shortly after our last meeting, so I haven't heard anything back. He also suggested, now I'm sitting here thinking, who would he tell me that we ought to check with?
Well, you told me that one, and I checked, and it doesn't pan out, but I can't remember the name of it.
Okay, well, he gave me a lead on somebody he thought a group, and I don't remember who it was, but I might try to contact him again and see if he has visited with Russell County Commissioners. I mean, Mr. Stegman and I have been to the Lucas City Council. Every once in a while, I do remind them that that's still on the table. I haven't got anything yet that we can take to the bank, but I haven't been told no either, so I have been trying to beat the bushes a little bit and even getting up some private.
Great plans.
Yeah, we talked
to them.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily not interested. They're probably, if they're going to do something, they're probably going to do it, excuse me, on their own property, on their own building. But didn't actually necessarily tell me no, it just happened to. But they're probably, if they do something, they're probably gonna be, which makes sense to me too, but. So anyways, I have been rambling the bushes a little, so trying to come up with any help that we can get, to offset the districts.
Also, GL Hewlett out of Minneapolis, that's a fall grant cycle. This fall, they'll be eligible, they have money, someone in Post Rock Community Foundation. And then also
What was the name of that?
GL Hewlett, Hewlett, something, yeah. And then there's also a grant out of Mitchell County, I'm trying to think.
You don't have to be in Mitchell or.
Well, again, part of our district goes in Mitchell County.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Yes.
So,
Great. You want to email this to me?
I will,
Okay.
yes. I'm out of the office tomorrow, but.
Yeah, that's fine.
Wednesday or Thursday.
Mr. Steckline, is there anything in Osborne County? We have some families that live in Osborne County. I think it's
Yeah.
County, but I was just thinking part of our route goes into Osborne County.
Yes, and anyone
Yeah.
here is
Okay.
any, help us offset the district matched on this, really appreciate it.
And that's all I had. Just keep working.
Yep. All right, well, we'll move on to principal reports.
State assessments are underway. We've gotten through science in our building, still working on math and English. We have till April 26th to complete those. We plan to be done a week early on that, and then we'll have some math tests to round out the year as far as assessments go. Some of the recent events, we had regional music March 30th. We had a number of students qualify. We had 24 in our mixed ensemble that qualified. Of course, you need a 1 rating in order to qualify for state. The men's ensemble qualified, the girls ensemble. The vocals soloist, Tyler Barrientes, Dharma Kaus, Bailey Evans, Sam Prince, Gunnar Weaver, and Kelsey Decker qualified. And then our instrumental soloists that qualified were Dharma Kaus, Haley Fallis, and Catlin Homewood. So we have a number of students here doing state in music. We traveled to Lincoln on April 1st for MPL speech. The Mustangs were league champions there for the second year in a row. Last Friday, I took the 8th graders to NCK Day in Beloit. It was a good day. Kids got to see a number of programs up there. Over 400 8th graders up there. 8th graders. We had cheer tryouts last Friday. I think we had 14 girls go through the practices. 12 girls tried out, and we selected 8. And then that evening we had the FFA banquet. I think we had 31 kids in FFA this year, 11 seniors, so they're good numbers for our FFA program. And then this Friday, we have prom. Promenade starts at 6 p.m.
By the way, Mr. Carter, I forgot to RSVP. I think I have a date.
That's why he's here.
Okay, you might have to get that one in the kitchen where you eat. Standing room only. We'll make room.
They will have 62 students for the junior-senior prom, so it'll be a good group, good number. Senior trip is this Wednesday. They're going to Kansas City, do some golfing, and they're going to watch a movie, and do some shopping, things like that. We'll be back. Mr. Keller is going to take our junior boys to an electric car rally on Thursday in Hoisington, and potentially maybe later in the month to Scott City. Looking at doing. On the 17th, we have our Fort Hays Art Show. We currently have 14 kids enrolled in art. Mrs. Ladd, the art instructor, will take them to that. Then on the 24th, we have our Community Work Day. That's for our 9 through 12 students. We'll hit Hunter, Sylvan, Lucas, Luray. We'll have a small group that will go out to the lake to do some cleanup activities, and then we're trying to set up a small group that can hit local cemeteries, especially some of the rural ones, and maybe do some cleanup there. But we're still trying to put that together. The blood drive is on the 26th that NHS hosts. Our spring music program is on May 1st. Starts at 7, preludes at 6:30. On May 6th, we're going to have our physicals and bring our 6th graders over for their 6th grade orientation. Give them a tour of the building, have the coaches talk to them, maybe visit some classrooms. May 8th is our high school awards night. It's potluck. And then May 10th is our Band to the Worlds of Fun trip. Graduation's on May 11th, starting at 2 p.m. And junior high awards night's May 15th. At the bottom there, I have some postseason dates and locations. Regional baseball, May 13th and 15th at Beloit. Because of our numbers, when we combine us and Lincoln, we're actually a 3A school now. We put us together, so we got bumped up a division. Regional softball's at TMP, May 13th and 14th. Regional track is at Hill City on May 17th. And state speech is in Salina. We currently have 18 students qualified for champs. Last year at this time we had 13, and then we have 7 students qualified for the festival. Last year we had 7 this time. That's pretty good. We're defending state champs in speech. If we go back to that first page, that top item, the KISA GLT and OBT meeting, last Thursday we went up to Mankato and met with about 6 different schools in our consortium that are part of our professional learning community for KISA. I have a goals listed there. We talked previously that our goals were number 1, character ed for the district, and then number 2 was curriculum mapping. At our last in-service, the English teachers had some concerns with curriculum mapping and how much they're really going to affect student outcomes. And so at least 7-12 currently, we're looking at changing that second goal to student-led parent-teacher conferences, which is something that I think our building would like to see. And then I think the K-6 are looking at that goal to see if there's something else that might fit better in curriculum mapping. Student-led parent-teacher conferences kind of fits in with the IPS that we do, and gives the student a chance to work on some of those soft skills that we kind of included in the character piece also. So that's something we're going to look at as a staff. Let's get closer. Year 2 of KISA, we should be finalizing our plan of action, and that's what we're working towards. Once we have the goal, we've set plans of actions for each goal with milestones to mark, and then our data that we're going to use to show whether or not we're making progress through years 3 through 5. So that's kind of where we're at the moment with KISA. We do have a meeting with our outside validation team May 8th. We're looking for a couple of board members to participate in that OBT meeting. 3 OBT members come into our district and kind of take a look at what we're doing. They've requested that you have site council members, board members, parents, any stakeholders come in.
What time is that?
9 o'clock?
It's 9 to 12.
What's the date?
May 8th. I would think for the stakeholders, if they're coming at 10 a.m., a good time. And basically what they're looking for you is just to see if you've been updated along throughout the progress that we're making. If you have an idea what our goals are and what our plan of action is.
And we'll try to get that to you.
I'll need a reminder. Send me an email a few days ahead of time or something.
Will do. Scott gave you grade school, what's happening there. We did have our audit from the Kansas Department of Ed about this time last month. It was about the last, I think, board meeting time, if I remember right. Pam and the ladies did an excellent job. Everything turned out pretty well. I think the number we had put in, I think was like, we deducted like 1.5, I think, if I remember right. Something like that. Pretty close to that. But anyway, it's pretty close to what we had projected as far as our attendance and all the special CTE, transportation, all the waiting enrollments. That's basically what we're checking is our waiting enrollments and going through it. Like I said, transportation, make sure our kids are right. The ones we selected, we put them there. So turned out pretty good. And as you see now with special ed, we still have to wait for the special ed, see how much money we get for special ed at the end of the year for our final budget. So for this year. Talked about the roof is finished. So I thought they did a good job. I know it was tough for the high school staff process. But like I said, I think they started February 15th, and with all the snow and what we had, it was just tough going. But they did. I thought they did a good job and finally got it done. So
We stripped everything off there above the library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty good. Yep. And they also painted. You probably didn't even notice the second tier be the commons area. We had the first white section, which is 10, and then there was right above it was kind of dull gray, and they painted that. So it looks a lot better. So, and then they also did some things that weren't on there, and they didn't charge us for us. Over in the weight room, they put all new trim up. The trim, they said, was rusting through, so they put new trim around the weight room, that section. So they did all that. So anyway, they did a few extra things. So they got it done, hopefully. Hopefully it'll last for a while. The other thing, the last thing was the Senate Bill 16. I kind of gave you a summary of that. Probably the first time in quite a few years that we've had something passed this early. Of course, it still has to go to the courts pass it, but they include the inflation each year, the inflation, which they, of course, that was the main sticking point last year that they didn't include that. So anyway, hopefully it'll pass. I think the governor signed it today. It'll go to let's see, briefs are due to Supreme Court for April 25th, and then they present May 9th for oral arguments. I would think there'd be a lot of argument. I think both sides agreed on it, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, both sides, House and the Senate, agreed on it, which is this early is kind of unusual. But you can kind of look at the base state aid, what it's going to look like this year. And then it is for 4 years. 4 years, $90 billion on top of what they promised for this year, which was, I believe, $100 million. So it's $100 million plus the $90 million. But you can see what the base state aid per kiddo will be, goes up each year. And like I said, what's nice about it gives us a chance to plan. You don't have to wait till June or July to figure out what our budget's going to be. We're going to have a pretty good idea of what we're going to get. Again, this doesn't include your weightings, your transportation, and all your other weightings that go on. This is the base that you're going to see a lot. Now, there are some things that's going to go with it. We'll have some more audits, especially with at-risk this first year. If you look on the bottom of that page, the school finance audits. On the back, next page, you can see what the audits will be. The first one, the first year, 2020, will be at risk. They're really going to look at that. We'll have to provide how we're helping our at-risk kids and what we're doing. And, what we did with Mrs. Ellens is going to help that situation. That's just part of it. Then in 2021, they're going to look at your unencumbered cash balances, make sure you don't have too much in there. But anyway, that's something they're always looking at. 223 virtual school programs, which we don't have anymore. No, just things we have to do, just things that we have to do.
So less work for Pam.
No, probably more work for them. I guess it will cost.
So if we don't have a virtual aid or the virtual school anymore,
Oh, on that one, 2023.
that should be an easy one.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, unless we start one again. Just kidding. And then you can look at the next one, the accountability reports. We're going to have on our website all this information provided. Website educate DE that what you're doing, about your audit. Your student achievement, state assessments, that's all going to have to be provided. Look at in the bill, if you look in the middle of the page there, the bill would establish uniform internet publication requirements for all reports required to be published by KSD and the school districts. Require to publish school district budget documents, which we do a lot already. This is going to be a different type of report. Publish school district budget documents and school district funding report on the home page of their website. Under display called accountability reports. So there's some things tied on to this that we're going to have to do.
They didn't find anything in regards to bullying on this, did they?
No, they did not. There were some who were pushing that pretty hard.
They
Yeah.
have those vouchers for.
Right. What is not in the bill?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is not in the, it's not legal. I can see, you want mine?
Yeah, mine.
I think you would go see.
On the very last page, there's questions pretty, and that's what they'll be asking us. They say school leaders and what candidates are getting for their investment. How does it address Supreme Court's concern about the lowest 25% of students? What are you doing for those at-risk kids? What measurable changes will we see in student success? ACT scores, your state assessments, graduation rate. None of it.
More money in the classroom.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's what they want us to see. Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay, Laura, anything else?
I was curious, at the beginning of the school year, Sarah Hiller did a survey regarding buses.
Yes.
Whatever, did we ever discuss that, or? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, we did with the site council, trying to think,
That's where the request came from.
yeah, the site council, we didn't, one of the questions I believe was, anybody, as far as, oh, I remember now, yeah, how many people were interested, or how many liked their, against, or,
I mean, riding the bus or having parents driving to school, or?
yeah, I didn't have.
What worked easier, right?
Yeah, most of them all, I think 90% was, they wanted the bus situation. One of the other questions we had on there was, dropping off time and, getting off the bus and getting on the bus. And, I think we just had 2 or 3 that did not like, thought it was too early or too late. Too late.
Okay.
And one of the other questions was, trying to find bus drivers and getting any takers on that. Or some of the other questions. But the big thing we're looking at about the time to get on the bus and get off the bus, I think that was a big thing. And I think, like I said, a little bit more positive than I thought as far as what we're doing. So I'm not saying that there's not things we need to improve on. But anyway. Yep.
And as of now, our bus drivers in that section?
As far as I know, yes. I hope so.
Is it? Laura? Janelle? Dave?
I'd like to thank Jude, Raymond, and the kids that came over for the exercise on the 23rd. Participation was greatly appreciated. Having an after-action meeting coming up Friday at 1:30 over in the basement of the courthouse with found items that need to be corrected for various agencies within the county. Having a G402 class, it's a NIMS, a FEMA class for elected officials, coming up Monday, April 29th, from 1 to 5 over in the basement at Lincoln Park Manor. Again, you can go to KS Training to sign up, or again, if you don't want to go to KS Training because it's kind of a project, just shoot me an email and I get somebody signed up. KM is hosting the class, and they just want accurate training material for the people that would be going. One last thing, I made a mistake and signed up to Veronica. So.
Oh, very good. Appreciate it. No, it wasn't a mistake.
No,
Good.
it wasn't.
Yep, that's good.
Good.
No, it was a good Saturday. I learned a lot. Like I said, you want to make sure you count your kids when you get how many you got kids on your buses, on your bus.
And I think
Pretty
what drew
important.
us too was that all those kids weren't our kids.
Right.
There were some Lincoln kids that got thrown on the bus as students representing the Sylvan School District, and oops. So, yeah.
Pretty important.
Anything else?
I'm good.
Sam, you got anything else? Mr. Targi? Virgil?
I got a question for Ray since he's still here. Going back on this sheet here, it says that Mr. Keller and the small gas engines will participate in the electric car rally.
Yeah,
Is
we're
that
going
like
to cheat a little bit.
disqualification?
Yeah, we go longer that way. But that's last semester was that small
Since
engine
it's
class.
divided up, so your small gas engine class has a half
Then
a
we went
semester.
went to electric then this time.
It was smoking today too. That's so boring.
It better not been.
I'm sorry. I don't know what Kyle did to it, but there was smoke coming out of it.
Every time you're out there.
I know, it's not good.
No, we're going to have a good time. Go to Hoisington
Yeah.
this Thursday at weather permitting, and then out to Scott City. They've done a good job. It's kind of neat. It's fun.
The other thing I did have is I did get, somebody talked to me about, I know it's unusual, we've had this wet a spring and this wet weather this winter anyway, actually, but they said that maybe we need to do a little bit better keeping the buses on the dry roads when we have really bad weather, because they said that bus probably that we had to pull out was really, shouldn't have been on that road.
Well, it's, the way I understand, it should be on there even when it's dry.
Yeah, so, and hopefully it doesn't happen again, but it just brought to my attention that wasn't a good place for that bus. That's all I have.
I think we learned that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The only thing I have is, I'm in the process of, I have a billboard sign out at 232 of Lake Wilson, which probably all you've seen, but way back when Mr. Walters was here, we put a banner on the bottom there for the schools on my side, and in the process of redoing it, and everyone's permission, we're going to put the school on there again. What I need to know is, or what I is we want to update our banner. I think Mr. Walters just took this off of our website. Let's see. At that time, we got something new and better we'd want to, as far as we'd want to put on there.
You know what it looks like.
I saw it just the other day too.
Can I get back to you?
Yeah, well, if you come up with something, email it to me.
Okay.
And that way I can forward it to Commercial Sign, and Hayes is doing it for me. And so so that's what we got right now.
Oh, okay, got you now.
And I think that's 4 by 16 long, 4 foot wide by 16 long. So yeah, if you can come up with some kind of a design, email that to me, and then I can forward that to Commercial Sign, and we're working on a cruise for me right now. I'd like to try to get it done before Camp 4 Lake season here. Obviously, our business has changed.
ASAP.
It is, and the Conoco, or the blue color in the Conoco scheme is no longer, so yeah, I got to update, but anyway, so, yeah, we'll come up with something. The summer cost, I'm going to pay for it, I'm not going to last time, so unless somebody has an objection to advertising the school out there, I don't know if it does any good, but it can't hurt. I mean, we can do that. But we've had a few students and do still have a few students out there, so it can't hurt.
Nope. Sounds good.
That's all I got.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Then moved and seconded that we adjourn. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everyone.